All right, one time for my niggas, two times for my nagas. It's your main man, Daddy Shiva, and we're here with, of course, the beautiful and beloved Cosmic Mother Kali. But all right, this is the Jupiter and Scorpio Tantric Revolution webinar. We wanted to do this particular live cast, broad stream, webinar, whatever the fuck, just to really talk about one of the many facets and aspects of the Jupiter and Scorpio transit and what it's going to entail in regard to the expansion of how sexual energy is used. In particular, speaking about how sex can be used as an occult practice, you know what I'm saying? Really
Sex
bringing
magic.
back, like, yeah, sex magic, really bringing that back into the forefront and the magical ways with which we can use not only sex, but sexual energy as an archetype.
Because you can use sexual energy without actually having sexual intercourse.
Right.
Physically.
Those two things are, you know what I'm saying, not mutually exclusive. You see what I'm saying? So you can do one without doing the other. So it's really about overall the way we view, expanding the way we view, you know what I'm saying, sexual energy, really facing the way we've demonized and placed sexual energy in the shadow. You see what I'm saying? And then ultimately integrating it back in, but integrating it back into our conscious awareness on a much higher, much more expanded level, which is what Jupiter is all about. You see what I'm saying? Integrating sex back into our cultural paradigm in a way that's actually, you know what I'm saying, going to lead to elevation and ascension and all that different shit, using sex to really gain and accomplish those things. Because that's one of the things that when we look in every mythology, it's one of the most potent energies that's discussed, but yet it's always surrounded by the most weirdest feelings about it. Like, should we indulge in it all the time? Should we not indulge in it at all?
Who can we indulge in it with?
Where's the line to draw with what's acceptable and what's not acceptable based on our social whatever the fuck? You see what I'm saying? So this is where we really come into the tantric aspect and come into understanding the individual nature of your soul and understanding, you know, the individual way that your soul is going to choose to express its sexuality. You see what I'm saying? But you ultimately, yeah, a holistic approach, because you honestly have to really view all sides of sexuality as an archetype in order to truly understand how it relates to you and how it expresses itself and moves through you as the creative force of the universe. Because that's ultimately what we're talking about when we're talking about sexual energy. We're talking about the creative force that brings all things into manifestation. That combination of positive and negative forces that manifest form on that regard. So I'm going to start, and mind you, this is going to be an installment in a series of talks about not only the different aspects of what's going to happen in Jupiter and Scorpio transit, because Jupiter is not only expansions, but it's also like the aspect of luck and fortune and fame and shit like that. Scorpio is dealing with the aspects of death, the underworld, the hidden creative potential, the imagination, the shadow self. You see what I'm saying? The occult realm of black magic and all that shit. Really, so it's really opening up that field or those fields of consciousness to our conscious reality, so that we can really begin to change the perspective on which we have with them. Because right now, we have a very fixed perspective on how we view some of those things. You see what I'm saying? Some of those
mainly
more
the perspective that was given to us through
right,
social programming.
right. We have a very twisted view on the more right brain aspects of self. You see what I'm saying? Very fixed and set, which Scorpio is a fixed sign. So Jupiter coming in, mind you, Jupiter being the ruler of Sagittarius, of mutable signs, now coming in to kind of really expand, change up, and switch the way we view those energies. Mind you, it's going to set a new fixed pattern, but ultimately this is the change in how we ultimately view that energy. But we're going to expand on not only that different aspects of Jupiter and Scorpio, but also the different aspects of Tantra, because it's not just Tantric practices, it's also understanding Tantric philosophy as a frame of reference for thought.
That is one of the core foundations. That's like the central pillar.
Right. You have to understand the philosophy behind it. You have to understand the storyline that they build up with Shiva and Kali.
It's going to get real abstract when you start to the higher up you go.
And when you have these stories to relate, you know what I'm saying, in terms of like a figurative way of like relating analogously what you're going to deal with in regards to what, you know what I'm saying, the overall Tantric embodiment is, when you have that language to really go back and forth from the logical side of like, all right, I need to do these breathing exercises. I need to, you know what I'm saying, figure out how to get these visualizations popping. You know what I'm saying? That's like the left brain disciplined, rational side of you. It's like, this is what I have to do. You know what I'm saying? In a step-by-step way to get into these energies. You see what I'm saying? But what you're ultimately going to feel from these practices, you see what I'm saying? You're going to need the Tantric philosophy to understand. So we're going to build on Tantric philosophy, Tantric practices.
The unit of the left and the right brain.
Right. Definitely, for sure. So we're building on that Tantric practices. So not only the sexual ones, but also the non-sexual ones. So just like the breathing exercises, the visualizations, the meditations, all of those. So really going into those two aspects, and also really defining Tantra for what it actually is, and moving beyond the set fixed way we think about Tantra when we hear that word. Because, you know what I'm saying, I went into it hearing a certain, not necessarily hearing a certain thing, because I did hear about all the different spiritual benefits of it, but you know what I'm saying, I went into it with that conception of, oh, it's just really cool spiritual sex. But nah, it's a lot greater than that. It's a lot more than that, as I've come to not only experience how the magic works, but also learn more about the more, I guess you say, the more logical left brain side of it, being able to get these texts and decipher them myself and read through them and all that different stuff. So
how do you get the chat?
The chat is on the thingy back there. More than likely. I mean, no, I don't even care for the chat. We'll do that at the end. They should be taking notes and writing shit down. They're facts. Facts. So for this section right here, we're really defining what Tantra is and what Tantra isn't, and what, you know, and you know what I'm saying, like the pillars, like the main pillars of Tantra and how they work. So I'm going to just start, and I'm just going to read it and just jump in wherever you feel best. I'll jump out wherever I feel best. All right. So what is Tantra? Tantra literally means technique in Sanskrit. So right off the jump, Tantra has, in its purest state, has nothing to do with sex.
Multi-purpose word. You can have tantric anything.
You can have tantric anything.
I take tantric showers.
You see what I'm saying? It's just a technique. It literally just means technique. It has nothing, nowhere does it say in the definition of the word in its original form that it has anything to do with sex. So Tantra is any practical technique used for having a direct experience with the divine, as opposed to an intellectual rationalizing of the divine that requires no direct experience at all. In Tantra, the only way to truly know is by becoming that which you wish to know.
Becoming that of which you wish to know. You have to be it. And the only way you can be it is if you fully submerge yourself into all that it is. Not just the cute shit, not just the love and light shit, but the dirty shit, the nasty shit, the lust, the greed, the death. That's a part of it. And if you really want to be your highest self and bring that shit down here, you have to, all of it, encompass it.
You have to, boom. You have to eat from the tree of knowledge of good and evil. You see what I'm saying? They give you the tree of life, right? Why isn't it the tree of life and death? You see, why isn't that tree holistic? There's a real subtle way that they kind of tell you to like really look into these things. Because while one tree is giving you both sides of the story, the other tree isn't. It's just giving you life. It's not giving you death, though. It's not giving you the whole cycle and continuum of the thing. It's only giving you half of the creation. Because the other half of the creation is death. You see what I'm saying? Like, that's what we need to come to an understanding of on that level. So when we talk about the tree of good and evil, we're talking about the tantric practices. You see what I'm saying? Of really taking oneself in as a holistic being and not ignoring any aspects of it. A whole package, you see what I'm saying? This is unlike most modern religions and spiritual doctrines because it is far less concerned with left brain philosophical thought and more concerned with right brain methodology. You see what I'm saying? So this is where Tantra differs, because it's not about what you can pull out of a book. You see what I'm saying? That's not enough. It's more so about what you've experienced, what have you gone through. You see what I'm saying?
Learning from spirit versus learning from text.
Boom. Every job wants you to have experience, but that requires you having the job. But in order to get the job, you need the degree. You see how this shit's backwards? But ultimately, they favor experience. They need someone that's actually been doing the work. You see what I'm saying? They can polish you up and train you on their particular way to get that work done.
Systems.
But ultimately, what they want to know is that you have the experience to actually do the work. You see what I'm saying? You know what to do, even if it's just on an intuitive level. You know what to do. We can bring you into a disciplined alignment as long as you know what to do. But if you just have the information but no practice of it, you still have a huge learning curve to deal with. Although you know
shit's not gonna be,
it's not going to go the way the book exactly. It's not going to go the way the book says. You see what I'm saying? It's not a cookie cutter path that's laid out.
And your reactions to something is going to be completely different than the person who wrote it.
Oh. Understand that a lot of these mythologies and shit are broad strokes. You see what I'm saying? A lot of them are setting up very generalized concepts and archetypal energies that you can tap into. You see what I'm saying? Love is an archetype because it's found everywhere in every culture. You see what I'm saying? Abundance and prosperity, fertility and shit like that are archetypes because they're found everywhere and in every culture. You see what I'm saying? They're general energies that you can ultimately embody if you truly want to understand and know how to be, like, understand what they are, what they mean, and how to produce them in your reality. You see what I'm saying? So the two forms of spirituality, there's intellectualism versus existentialism, right? Intellectualism, as it relates to spirituality, leads to the creation of theories, doctrines, and dogmas. Why? Because intellectualism requires only the use of the mind and nothing else to reach conclusions about the questions posed to it.
Always. That's learning from the book. That's having no experience. That's have gone to medical school, read everything, but has never administered a shot. Has never physically interacted with a real human. That's the outside reaching. That's reaching outward to get things that inevitably are within you.
Niggas sell you this picture of God, but don't tell you on the other end, yo, God is within you and you're having a direct experience of God right now.
They give you a hint of it. They say you were made in his image.
Right. They give you hints and bits and pieces. Mind you, I thought it was just one Council of Nicaea. It took 7 motherfucking tries for them niggas to wash out all of the gems in the Bible. 7 tries for them to actually get it all the way to what it is right now, the King James Version.
You know, the Muslims think that their shit hasn't been touched at all.
That even wilder. So this is what we're dealing with here. They tell you all about God, but they don't tell you how to have a direct experience of God, and no one that's talking to you has had a real direct experience of God. They're just all giving you conjecture about what they think this shit is, based on whatever standards they've set in their mind that they've agreed to as a mass consciousness. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Whereas, well, go ahead.
I was gonna say, I think about the black churches,
Right?
The specifically like the black Southern Baptist churches. They really are conjuring spirits. It's just the spirits they think they're conjuring
are not the spirits.
Ain't the shit that's really in there yet having y'all turn.
So they're having that direct experience, but now you see where you don't have enough intellectual knowledge of what you're actually dealing with to truly understand.
But even that, look at where it is. It's not happening in white Catholic churches.
That's also true.
Look at where it's happening, because that shit is in us. It's genetic. You can't deny that.
Yeah, it is an innate. It is a
certain types of abilities you are genetically predisposed to.
Right.
So you gonna get, that's just what it is.
It is what it is. You see what I'm saying? So existentialism, as it relates to spirituality, requires that the questioner go through a deep transformation of self in order to reach conclusions about the question being asked. The only way to truly know is by becoming that which you wish to know. You have to go through the experience of it. If I want to know what light is, the best way to do that is by becoming light. How do I do that? That's what mythology teaches you to do. Your ancestors figured out how to humanize all of these forces of nature so that way you can put them on as costumes, wear them, and become them.
It's easier to conceptualize when you're able to put yourself in that costume and become it. That's what drove Heath Ledger off the fucking cliff.
He ultimately became the Joker.
He became the Joker.
Johnny Depp. He became like all of his roles. He becomes those things to the point where it's like, yo, those are real entities that exist within him on a certain level. Mind you, that nigga's just an actor, right?
That's what.
But aren't you the same thing? Aren't you acting like you're not God? That's ultimately the real. You're acting like you're not God down here. You're pretending to be separate. You're pretending to be, a small version of this thing and like acting like this is the greatest thing you can be. No. You're a lot greater than this. You're acting out a role. That's what this shit's all about.
Fucking playing yourself when you water yourself down.
So ultimately, your whole experience of reality is not intellectual. It's existential. You're playing out a role in order to learn a lesson instead of sitting there and pondering in heaven, yo, I wonder what it would be like to do this and that and this and that. And you're like, nah, how about I actually just do it? How about I actually just create those experiences and go through them and see what it's like, see what I learned from it, right? Because while you're thinking about it, it's just a potential. And there is no real growth from potential. Mind you, potential itself is infinite growth, because once you start turning it into things, now you're having experiences, infinite knowledge is available to you, because ultimately God is infinite potential being turned into experience and thus knowledge, understanding, and wisdom. You see what I'm saying? Just like that. So in order to really clarify the existentialism versus intellectualism point, we are going to set up the base question of what is light. That's the question that we're posing to both intellectualism and existentialism, and we're going to describe how each one of them answers, and you're going to really get to see the difference between the two. So intellectualism says, when you ask what is light, intellectualism says light is electromagnetic radiation within a certain portion of the electromagnetic spectrum. Visible light is usually defined as having wavelengths in the range of 400 to 700 nanometers. Its speed in a vacuum, 299,792,458 meters per second, is one of the fundamental constants of nature.
That nigga just spoke straight code. That nigga was just straight 1011001.
Do you know, but from that definition, do you know what light is though? Do you know how light feels?
I know the functions of light.
Now I know the functions of light. I know functions, right,
but I don't know its encompassing.
Do you know how it feels? Mind you, that's good to know. There's nothing wrong with knowing that. That's good to know. But what can I really do with that though? You see what I'm saying? Do I know how light feels? Do I know if light is?
How do I know I'm interacting with light?
You see what I'm saying? Does light have a sound? Does light have a smell? Is light just something you see? Does light have a taste? Like, what are the other senses saying? What's the full and all-encompassing experience of light though?
How did you even get to being able to identify that this is light and this is what's happening?
How did you even understand? How did you get to measuring all these different speeds and shit? How did you get to measuring these nanometers and things? How did you get to that? Right?
What's up with you? What's your deal?
You had to have had some type of experience
interaction
of
with it
light.
That you're not telling me.
All right, boom, there you go. You're hiding some portion of this.
You're hiding something. What's up with you?
So this is where existentialism comes in and says, if you ask what is light, existentialism is going to say, oh, you must be blind, or else you would have no need to ask that question. Instead of giving you an answer that you wouldn't be able to understand anyway, how about we operate on your eyes so that you can have sight? Once you have sight, you'll be able to experience, understand, and thus define light for yourself. You'll have the direct experience of it, right? Because in me giving you that intellectual answer, I was ultimately defining it for you.
Exactly.
I wasn't allowing you to have your own experience.
If a nigga is hungry, you can either cook him fish or you can teach him how to fish. If you just cook him fish, that's it.
That's that day. That's for that day.
That's it.
Mm-hmm.
You'll be back again tomorrow cooking, or he won't. But if you teach him how to fish, then he can feed himself. He can feed. Okay. He can feed his children. He can teach his children that craft. It continues. It becomes infinite.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're just trying to keep me at, oh, I'm just gonna solve your problem. Boom. Pray to white Jesus.
That's
you're
not,
dead in me.
That's not working
you're
out.
Dead in me. So now it's why are you dead in me? What are you hiding?
That's where we start getting into the real aspects of understanding.
Let me do some of this shit that you say and don't do, that you actually keep into yourself. Because don't get me started with the Catholic churches. Touching on.
Yeah, we don't got enough time for that on this one. Tantra is amoral. So this is the next major point that we're gonna address. Mm-hmm. So right there, we just addressed that Tantra literally means technique, and the two forms of spirituality that pretty much bring themselves into our understanding once we understand that Tantra itself specifically means technique, the direct, how you gain the direct experience of the divine, right? So now we're saying Tantra is amoral. So what does amoral mean? Amoral means unconcerned with the rightness or wrongness of something. While most religions are based heavily on morality systems, Tantra is a pure spiritual science that is only concerned with transformation and realization and not social behaviors. That's a very important point to keep in mind. Tantra is about transformation and realization and not social behavior. You see what I'm saying? Once you know who you are, you'll know how to act, and we're going to get to that. Tantra operates under the notion that we are the ones that are blind to our own natural alignment. We are the ones that are diseased. Once we are given sight and the disease is cured, we will intrinsically know what is good and evil on a personal level without the need for any external guidelines. So when Eve bit from the fruit or bit from the fruit on the tree, mm-hmm. she gained that certain level of awareness and she realized, yo, there's a certain level of like internal judgment that I now have to do. You see what I'm saying? It's not just about following this nigga's rules. What about me? What are my rules? What are my morals? You see what I'm saying? That's when they became aware. They noticed they were naked. You see what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. They really got to see themselves, because it wasn't just about what this nigga wants. I now have to turn that mirror back on myself and understand, like, what is it that I'm dealing with though? What's good and evil for me? This is where we fall. This is the fall, because now we're really falling into ourselves. You see what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And trying to understand, yo, what are my laws? What are my rules? You see what I'm saying? Who is this nigga to even tell me what to do? That's the fall. Who is this nigga? You become aware, you realize you're naked. Like, why am I naked? You see what I'm saying? Why was I created? You start questioning creation instead of just going along with it. Instead of just going along with life and just not having a real point and awareness to it. Now you're questioning it. You're bringing a certain level of like understanding to it. Let's keep going. All right, so Tantra is the cure, so to speak. And because it is just a cure, it cannot and will not pick sides. Tantra was not designed to play favorites, it was designed to heal the internal sickness.
Yes.
Fact, and that's it's just medicine. Medicine doesn't.
It can't.
Does medicine?
Only work for white people and not work for black people.
Which the medicine they got right now is pretty much along those lines. That's a whole other conversation for another day. You see what I'm saying? Whereas the holistic medicines, you know what I'm saying, going back to the herbs and all these different things, you see what I'm saying, when you actually know what you're doing, when you really research botany, you really get into that, you can create all natural remedies that work amazingly. Dr. Sebi cured AIDS, documented, cured AIDS, beat a fucking court case and shit. That's not something we're going to argue anymore. That's just fact now. You see what I'm saying? Yeah. So these things are possible. So Tantra is the same way. It doesn't care who you are. It doesn't give a fuck what you believe or whatever. Once Tantra comes through and is implemented, once the technique is applied, it works. You just have to be disciplined about it. Keep practicing the technique. The transformation will come. Trust me.
You just have to do it.
You just have to do it. You have to keep taking the medicine. Yes, it doesn't taste good. We get that. Right? Some of it tastes good. But ultimately, most of it ain't going to taste too good. Right? Sometimes the medicine going to make you throw up. It's going to make you, mind you, literally, mind you, and real medicine isn't going to mask your symptoms. It's going to draw them out even more. So that way you can purge them from your body.
That's why, one of the natural remedies for having a cold is to sweat
it out.
Just burn that bitch out.
Sweat. You see what I'm saying? So Tantra works on that principle where because it's a pure cure, it is not concerned with morality because it can't be concerned with morality. Because then it's going to limit it. It's going to limit its healing power, and then it becomes useless. Then it becomes another religion.
Exactly.
Boom. If it can't work for everybody, mind you, there are a certain group of people who this shit is going to work for amazingly. You see what I'm saying? The people who design this shit, they don't have to practice as much. They don't have to go as hard. There are a certain group of people who have to try a little bit harder and be more disciplined and work. Hey, that's just what it is. It is what it is. But either which way, the discipline is still necessary. The cure still needs to be taken because clearly we're out of alignment. If we weren't out of alignment, the world wouldn't look the way it looks. We're the ones that are fucking up. We're the ones that have lost control of the ship, and we need to get the shit back in line. And that's what Tantra is ultimately trying to do. Who you are, whether it be king, killer, or kindergartner, and what you believe personally, whether it be Christianity, Islam, Judaism, Buddhism, fucking Santeria, voodoo, doesn't fucking matter, right? None of that matters to Tantra at all. As long as you desire the deep internal healing and transformation, you are more than welcome to use Tantra. What we call immorality is actually the result of all the diseased minds and spirits that inhabit this planet currently. Mm-hmm. So it is foolish for any spiritual system to demand morality before joining, especially when most of them aren't even targeted at truly healing the underlying causes of the disease itself.
How you got the right answer and you ain't even got the whole answer.
Hello. Why is it that your medicine is designed to mask the symptoms instead of designed to truly cure these things?
Why the Christian gay camps don't work?
What is going on here? How is it that your book is you see what I'm saying? How is it that each one of these religious systems kind of gives you this feel of this is the only way when it doesn't actually address everyone's needs? Tantra and voodoo and shit like that.
Anybody can get it.
Very synchronistic. They address everyone's needs. If you really take a look and a deep look and study into these things, they address everyone's needs because they're holistic systems. Mm-hmm. You see what I'm saying?
That's true. That's truly what it is to be interdimensional. Because once you become interdimensional, you have multiple perspectives. There's so many directions going through each vertex. Right. So many perspectives. It's no longer this is just it. There's no longer a right and wrong.
Right. So a system can't tell you how to behave. It should somehow lead you into knowing how to lead yourself. It should lead you into knowing how to set a code of conduct for yourself that works for you.
Because ultimately, you know what's best for you.
Ultimately, you know what's best for you and your progression. If it's not helping you progress, then ultimately you probably shouldn't be doing it. You see what I'm saying? If it's not helping you get where you want to go, it's not about what the world wants. Where do you want to go? That's how you set the standards. You judge yourself. And this is why I always tell niggas, yo, find your deity, find your deity, find the deity that you connect most with. Because ultimately you want to begin judging how your reality functions by the laws and standards set by that particular archetype of energy.
Because you're about to put on that full fucking suit.
Exactly.
You're about to put on that costume.
That's what you're trying to transform into. That's what you're trying to become.
Yeah.
The reason it relates so highly to you is because that is your higher aspect, or one side or one facet of your highest aspect. So you have to become it. All right. Tantra is the path of indulgence with awareness. We did this for the free section, so we're just going to kind of breeze through this real quick as a refresher for taping purposes. Right? So awareness is defined as knowledge or perception of a situation.
You know what you're doing.
Perception is defined as the state of being or process of becoming aware or conscious of something, usually through the faculty of the senses. And not just the mind, but the senses. The perception involves all of the senses.
You smell what the rock is cooking.
Do you smell what the rock is cooking?
I'm sorry. No, really.
Do you perceive what I'm on? Is really what he's saying. Do you perceive the frequency that I am at right now with you? Do you smell what the rock is cooking?
Clearly I'm here, nigga.
I'm up here. Are you catching a whiff of this, nigga? Mind you, Anpu relates to a certain aspect of the intuition, but what do dogs do? They sniff and they're able to just find their way toward. That's intuition. You catch a whiff of that shit in there, like,
yeah, I know that shit.
There's a feeling in the air. Something doesn't feel right. I should do this. Or, oh shit, there's a whiff in there. Something feels crazy. I feel like I should.
You can smell the rain before it rains.
Intuition. Boom. It's in the air. You can feel it in the air.
That too.
Boom. Right.
But all that shit intertwines. Science and intuition.
The perception involves all of the senses. The mind is one of the senses, but when you only rely on the mind and you don't observe things with all of your other senses, all of the other tools for, understanding that you were given with this body, you ultimately fail.
All encompassing. Nothing is by chance. Nothing in you is junk.
Boom. You have the five natural senses, you see what I'm saying? And then the mind, soul is supposed to be the sixth sense. It's supposed to be the sixth sense. But niggas are feeding more into the left brain aspects, the intellectual side, in an unhealthy way. You see what I'm saying? That's not balanced out, or at least being led and inspired by the abstract, the divine feminine side of it, the right brain side, right? So a common theme in many of the modern religions is the sinner complex that requires us to look at our human nature and desires with shame. This suppressive way of interacting with our reality is in fact the very thing that not only creates but feeds the inner turmoil that leads to the diseased mind and spirit. You're being pushed out of alignment with your natural self. You see what I'm saying?
So they keep shit from you.
Boom. They keep all of this information from you. Why? Because they don't want you to tap into your natural self. They demonize the feminine energy. Why? Because they want to keep you out of balance with your natural self.
They gotta blame somebody.
They gotta blame somebody. There has to be a devil somewhere.
Right, or else they ain't gonna buy this shit.
No one's gonna buy this shit if there's not an explanation as to why you're good and they're bad. You see what I'm saying? So in Tantra, there is no separation or duality between your natural state of being and your highest state of being. Tantra sees the natural state as a seed of potential that can be grown into the highest state, because all of the energies needed to reach that highest state of being are already contained within the seed itself. Simply put, Tantra requires that you use what your mama gave you, right? All this demonization of Lilith and Eve and shit, but really, truly, and honestly, you need to use what your mama gave you in order to naturally evolve into the embodiment of your higher self. You must accept who you are holistically. You see what I'm saying?
If you want to be a holistic God.
When we study the Hindu, mind you, the tantric philosophies are a part of the Hindu or the Vedic Hindu spiritual doctrines, right? So when we look at the other aspects of these doctrines, right, we talk about the Kundalini serpent that is coiled in the spine or coiled at the base of the spine 3.5 times, that when awakened, she rises up the spine into the third eye. And what she carries in her mouth is the Bindu seed, the seed of the soul, right? In many different texts, right, the pineal gland is referred to as the throne of God, the seat of the soul. You see what I'm saying? So your natural self, the seed of you that's implanted in the root chakra, is your highest self, because once you unlock and master that feminine energy and rise it up, that same seed is the one that grows and takes its seat on the throne.
All of the blueprint is all in there.
All in the seed. The seed knows how to become the tree. All you got to do is water it. You just have to provide it the right conditions to grow. And it will do the rest on its own. Here we go. That's some Tantra for that ass. Let's keep going. The ultimate goal is to learn how to move and flow with every energy and desire available to us with total awareness and acceptance, so that they all become a vehicle of transcendence. By accepting the body, mind, and spirit as they are, a divine oneness with all things can be created. That's ultimately what we're trying to do. By accepting the body, mind, and spirit as they are, a divine oneness with all things can be created.
It's all
when you realize that all of them are already one in the first fucking place.
Exactly. You're creating blockages for yourself.
You're creating blockage, and that's crazy, because we're going to do the Saturn and Capricorn webinar next, and we're going to talk about how Saturn isn't the limitations placed on you, but the limitations you place on yourself. Because at the end of the day, didn't Saturn create its own rings? Booyah. That's next. So y'all be ready for that too. You see what I'm saying? When we accept these energies as is, they can only serve to help. But when we fight against them, they only serve to make the illusion of separation and duality that much stronger.
It's gonna fuck you up.
When you run from your demons, you give them something to chase. Straight up like that. When you run from your demons, you give them something to chase. When you run towards them, they got to run from you. Either they're going to stand their ground and you're going to really get to face them and see what's good. You see what I'm saying? Or they're going to run. You're going to realize that ultimately you were always stronger than that.
And you don't run from your demons. That's like, you
don't
want them on your side. That's your deepest aspect. Like that's the worst of you.
You see what I'm saying?
But that's some powerful shit. Don't you want that on your team?
Those forms ultimately provide you with the greatest amount of transformation, because they show you your weaknesses and how you can transcend them, how you can become invulnerable, impenetrable, indestructible is through these demons. They show you your weakness so that you can conquer them. They literally offer themselves up to have their heads cut off so that way you can do better. And you the one running from them. They're chasing you because they just want you to love them. That's why they're chasing you. These are your crazy fans. They want you to cut their heads off. They would love nothing more than for you to be the one to slay them. But you keep running away from them, so they keep having to chase you around. Because that's their obsession.
Just resurfacing, just different name, different face.
Boom.
Different costume.
And if only we would change the perspective of the way with how we define these things, we would get real far ahead in the spiritual understanding. For sure. Feel every emotion. And mind you, emotion is energy in motion. Go ahead.
I was just saying, feel every emotion. Feel it. Don't suppress it. Encourage it so you can understand it. And don't
encourage it for the point of understanding.
Surrender to it. Just let it flow.
For the point of letting it transform you into something great. That's all you have to do. Feel every emotion energy in motion with your whole heart being your total awareness. This is the indulgence with awareness. When you bring your whole heart into, when you really feel this shit in order to understand what it is, when you really allow it to pass through you and transform you and change you and wash over you. This is how it really, this is what Tantra is really about. This is what it's really all about. This is what these ancestors were talking about when they put this science down in the mythology. You see what I'm saying?
That's love.
That's love. What we call lower emotions are actually the seeds of a higher expression of the same energy. So keep that same energy. Keep that same energy. But go into it now trying to understand how you could raise it up, how you can be the living embodiment of Kundalini, raising that seed.
The living goddess.
How you can raise that seed into its highest state when you can put it on its pedestal, its throne. You can be angry, but can you be the God of anger? Can you be the most divine form of anger that there is? You can be the God of food, but can you be, or you can be into food, but can you be the God of food? Can you be down for the most divine cooking methodologies ever? Can you take that shit to its highest level? You can be the God of ignorance. Can you take ignorance to its highest level? Because ultimately that's the fool, the joker. There's a place for it. There's a place for that in the universe if only you would bring that energy to its purest state instead of leaving it at its base state.
Evolve it.
You leave it at its potential. You don't ever turn that potential into anything. That's what Tantra gives you, though. It takes you through that potential and shows you how to make something out of it. So ultimately, you go through the ultimate transformations because you're not just sitting on all of your potential doing nothing.
No.
All right. When we suppress these energies, we allow no room for the seeds to manifest into the great tree of understanding contained within. But if we indulge in these energies without total awareness, the seed may grow, but it is sure to die before it reaches full maturity. So you do want to,
all its parts aren't there.
You want to keep a nice balance between the intellect and the intuition, but understand that the intuition is ultimately higher, but you want to be able to use the intellect to ground this shit into practical use.
Bring it here.
Bring it here and use it. Be God here. Don't be God in your head. Be God here. Make this shit move. Understand that all of these abstract concepts can be made practical if only you would open yourself up to that. If only you would.
You have to allow yourself.
You have to allow yourself to find that pathway for yourself. Sexual energy is the primordial creative energy of the entire universe. This is the energy that we are not only born through, but born with, thus making it one of the most potent energies available to us during our evolution into our highest being.
Every living thing has sex.
This is why Tantra has such an emphasis on the sexual techniques, because ultimately the sexual techniques are the most potent techniques you can use if you're dead serious about transforming yourself. It's the energy that creates everything. It's the energy that gives birth to everything. So what makes you think it couldn't rebirth you? You're using it to do bullshit. That doesn't mean that the energy itself is bullshit.
And it's giving you what you
want.
Growing the seeds that you planted.
Boom, it's giving you what you want.
It's still working for you.
Mm-hmm.
It's just you sabotaging yourself.
Boom. Sexual energy, just like any other form of energy, is neither good nor evil. That's why the tree of knowledge gives you the knowledge of good and evil, because ultimately that tree is beyond both. That's why it can give you both sides. It's in the middle, taking from both sides, learning from both sides, the light and the dark, life and death, and giving you both perspectives so that way you can decide ultimately what's up with you. They ate the fruit and they gained awareness. You want to know what else happened? Jehovah said, don't eat that fruit off that tree or you'll die. You see what I'm saying? Right? The serpent said, nah, eat the fruit off this tree. You won't die, but you will become like God. They eat the fruit. What does Jehovah say? Oh shit, they became like us.
Oh shit. This is not a drill.
Who is it that's trying to keep you away from understanding sexual energy, or not even sexual energy, feminine energy in general? Because mind you, the sexual energy and the spiritual realm both exist within inside the feminine realm. Facts. That is all feminine energy. Intuition, feminine energy. Kundalini, feminine energy. You see what I'm saying? So this all goes, Scorpio is a feminine realm. Not only is it a water element, but it's death and the underworld. All feminine shit. The yin realm, the yin energy. Whereas the yang would be masculine. So this shit is already, who's trying to keep you away from your mother? That's a good question you should ask yourself. All right?
Who's keeping you from your mother?
All energies, including sexual energy, are both natural and neutral. Because of this, any energy, including sexual energy, can be used for either constructive or destructive purposes.
Yes.
Let me add on to that. Any energy, including sexual energy, can be used for constructive destruction or destructive construction.
Because now you're working interdimensionally. Now you are seeing it from perspective.
There's two extremes and a whole pole between them.
There's so much in between.
You could either be destroying shit for a good reason, or you could be destroying shit for the wrong reasons.
You could be building shit for the right reasons.
Or you could be building shit for the wrong fuckboy reasons. So all energies are natural and neutral. It's all about how you channel them. Sexual energy is natural and neutral. It's about how you channel it.
That's why you got shit like the clitoris. That bitch serves one purpose.
Okay. All right. You see what I'm saying? The knowledge proves itself when you're willing to look.
No, because then they stay blind and they're like, cut it off.
Oh, yeah.
Dick.
It is our own lack of total awareness toward the sexual energy and our own natural desire that ultimately causes them to become destructive toward us. It is our lack of awareness that stops us from transcending these energies and desires and keeps us enslaved to them in a diseased manner. The same way a lack of total awareness while driving ultimately leads to getting lost or getting into a crash. Because you don't allow yourself to come into a full understanding of the energy, you keep fucking up every time you try to use it. Just like how if you were to get into a car and you're not paying attention to where you're going, you're bound to get lost. Just like how if you get into a car and you don't pay attention to where you're going and how you're driving, you're going to crash into somebody. Same way. Driving understanding that, yo, I need to be completely aware. You're going to be a great driver. You're not going to miss your turns. You're not going to crash into anybody. You're going to stay in your lane and you're going to whip that bitch. Ultimately, you might get to the point where you get so good at driving that you can NASCAR this shit. You can drift down the street on a busy highway and hit nothing.
Drifting at 30 miles an hour.
Drifting at, yo, son, you can do that. But that ultimately comes from an increase in awareness.
Which is a certain level of mastery.
Mm-hmm. So, when the mind is released of its dogmatic religious views towards sexual energy, realize that is actually the most natural force in this reality.
Everything has it. Everything that's alive has fucking sex. I mean, it's a little different.
It's a combination of the male and the female, the masculine and the feminine, the positive and the negative, the yin and the yang. Both sides are needed in order to create. Right? Because of the suppression and guilt that religion has placed around sexual energy, we have yet to actually form a deeper comprehensive understanding and connection to it. We've literally been removed from our mother. Our umbilical cord has been cut. You see what I'm saying? How do we regain that cosmic connection to this energy? Right? How do we gain that deeper understanding of that energy that will nourish us? You see what I'm saying? Into our own maturity and our own, rebirth. right? We assume to know what sex is, but only understand it at its most surface levels. Because we have been programmed not to give it our full awareness, we have yet to actually stop and smell the roses in regards to the sports.
Smell the roses. Smell.
You gotta use your senses.
You have to indulge in your senses to be able to smell anything.
Totally aware. You gotta listen to the sounds. You gotta see the sights. You gotta smell the air. You gotta taste the food. You gotta do all that.
The colors of the wind.
Right? Tantra, and the next major point that we're gonna get to is Tantra says everything is holy and nothing is unholy. All energies, especially sexual energies, are a gift from the Divine Mother that help us grow in our understanding of self and the universe.
Because if you are holy, everything that is of you is holy.
So are you saying God is just unholy?
God made this shit.
So all of this shit must be a part of the play. All right.
There's something you're not telling me. There's something you guys aren't telling me.
All right. There has to be something you're not telling me. In our ego, we claim that some things are holy while other things are unholy. And this only feeds the dualistic paradigm that creates a diseased mind spirit. Right? We must become non-dualistic in our approach to consciousness by accepting all things as they are, because through this we are able to see the totality of reality as it truly is.
Totality.
The totality of reality as it truly. By accepting everything as a part of the divine plan, you actually get to see what the divine plan really is and how it's really playing out. Instead of shunning away and shying away from this or that, really taking it in and accepting it all for what it is, accepting all of you for what you are.
Getting all the pieces to the fucking puzzles. You can put the puzzle together.
Recollecting or remembering all the pieces of Asar in order to resurrect.
Yeah.
Boom. You know. If we want to know the secrets of the universe, we cannot project our limited ego-based understandings onto it. How are you going to tell God how God should act?
How are you going to tell
who gave you the right
sun what time
to rise in the morning?
You can't control it. You think this shit's yours.
You see what I'm saying? You can't project your limited ego-based understandings onto the universe. We have to strip ourselves and we have to strip ourselves bare before it so that we can begin to form a connection with it that is not only intimate but highly personal. You have to go in front of the universe naked. You have to go back the same way you came in, free of all that shit that you put on. You see what I'm saying? You have to be willing to take that off and put on other things. But in order to truly understand the universe, right, we cannot go with our limited, we cannot go in these human clothes. You see what I'm saying? We have to remove ourselves of this human thought paradigm.
What you're working with is beyond human.
Exactly. And if you want to have a direct experience of it, you're going to have to get beyond your conscious mind, your ego. You see what I'm saying? We can't assume to know what's on the other side of the door without first having the courage to open the door. Courage comes from a French word, which means to be at heart. You got to be in the heart to have courage. The heart of the lion is what it, in order to what, you have to have that heart to actually go through it.
Yeah.
But ultimately, the heart is a magnetic organ, more on the feminine side than the brain, which is more electric, more on the masculine side. You see where I'm getting?
I see where
you see where I'm flowing? Now, if you can get the brain and the heart to unify, then aren't you just an electromagnetic wave?
Well, you got one hell of a team.
Aren't you just now you're the electromagnetic
wave.
And ultimately, don't waves become particles? Oh, so you determine now what your reality is.
What's about to be real.
Oh. Ooh, shit. Sorry, you guys. I'm trying to stretch out and enjoy this. These gems we dropping on y'all.
Fuck everything up.
I'm sorry. Right. Tantra is the act of surrendering to love. This is the next major point of what Tantra is.
The act of surrendering to love. That is a vast
ocean in itself.
Vast definition.
So let's get to chopping this up.
The concept of surrender is a vast.
Boom. In and of itself, because niggas have really turned surrender into giving up, and they are not the same thing. Surrender is having so much power and control that you can concede it, that you can give it up, that you can step away from it. Knowing that you're so safe and protected, it's like, yo, son, you know what? What do I have to worry about? What is a level of trust? A level of trust that goes in.
And understanding.
What am I so worried about? What am I scared of? If I'm God and I'm the one that created all this, then how can any of this beat me? I'm God. All of this shit was designed by me, for me, so that way I could learn. So that means that I'm definitely guaranteed to learn this shit. That means I'm definitely guaranteed to beat this shit. Mind you, like I'm always gonna say, I'm having this conversation with you. We're having this conversation with one another. The people who aren't having this conversation, you see what I'm saying? That's who this conversation does not apply to. It applies to the people that are having this conversation. So you set this up to handle this shit. You knew what you was doing. Mm-hmm. So why not surrender to the process? Why do you feel the need to be in control? You were already in control. You came here. You already, just like in the Matrix, what they say, you made all the choices. Now you're here to figure out why. Yeah. You already made them. You were already in control. Now you're living it out, trying to figure out why you made those choices.
Yourself. Don't block yourself.
Boom.
Those all.
And you brought up that point in the free video about the damning, and I thought that was beautiful. I thought that point was amazing. Because niggas don't understand that a dam is literally a dam. Like, it's the same shit. It's a blockage of energy, right?
A literal one.
Mind you,
a literal fucking
a dam is DAM, right? Boom. But then a dam is DAMN, right? Mm-hmm. Now in the Egyptian thing, that letter N is actually the waves of energy. They use that same letter N to spell what? Nu and Nut, the waters of chaos. So the dam on energy, damming the N, blocking the energy, you're damned. You have sex, you'll be damned. You do this, you'll be damned.
Eternal damnation.
Oh, eternal damnation. As if to say, if you do these things, the love of God stops flowing to you. When actually, those same forces are actually how you break through the dam, because Kundalini is the one that breaks through all the different blockages and restrictions in the chakras and purges them, so that way you can reach enlightenment. Hello. Oh, okay. Crazy shit now. Now we're on levels with this shit. Tantra is the art of surrendering to the Divine Mother in all of her forms so that she can raise us up into a holistic, all-encompassing understanding and awareness of the Tantra or techniques that she uses to create this reality so that we can better co-create our own realities.
And we know she uses these techniques because they exist in this reality. They were birthed. They're in us.
We're here, aren't
we? We're here. Literally.
Clearly there's a method for how we got here. Maybe that if we already made the choice and we have to understand why, then that's what we're trying to understand. What is the methodology for how we got here? What's the methodology for getting back out? Ultimately. So surrender itself is a technique, and probably the most important technique, because it is the first step we have to take in order to come before her, the Great Mother. You have to surrender in order to see Kali. You see what I'm saying? In order to be taught by her, surrender is important. That's how, mind you, that's how Pravati gets to Shiva, through the path of surrender. But ultimately, That's how Shiva gets power out of Kali, is through surrender.
He lays the fuck down.
He lays the fuck down. And he bows to that. Mind you, he is completely unstoppable to everyone else. He's the god of the gods. No one else can stop him, but he knows he has to bow to her. She's the one force that's above him. When he can't handle it, he runs to who? His mother. Who's also, mind you, and this is where Tantra comes in and really explains the fluidity of a relationship, right? How within a relationship, it shouldn't just be boyfriend, girlfriend. It should be boyfriend, girlfriend, brother, sister, mother, daughter, mother, son, father, daughter. It should be all that.
All encompassing.
It should be all encompassing, right? It should include all of those vibes. You should be able to teach your spouse just like you're a parental figure. You should be able to joke and play with your spouse. You see what I'm saying? And have disagreements and shit with your spouse.
Ushers in the BDSM culture.
Boom.
That's what that did. And that's why there's a lot of Tantric practices in the BDSM culture. The visualizations, the role play, all those different things are Tantric practices that can be you. It's a very ritualistic thing because you have to set up to do those things. You have to really set the intention like, yo, we're going to do this tonight. Set the intention, and it's incredibly structured.
Boom. There's a methodology to accessing that energy. Mind you, ultimately, you're doing something abstract, tapping into an energy, becoming an energy. But there's a direct method for doing that. There's ways in which you can do that. Mind you, there's not just one direct method. The form of Tantra that we're talking about is Vigyan Bhairav Tantra, which includes 112 methods to get this shit done.
That's important.
Literally, what's said in the actual text, the original text of Vigyan Bhairav Tantra, is that there is a pathway, a methodology for every single chakra in the body. So these 112 methods work for all of your chakras. So literally all you have to do, try them out. Whatever sticks is yours.
And they say that in the beginning of the book.
Boom.
Just don't focus too much on one technique. Just
try them all. Whatever sticks with you, whatever you really like, use it and keep using it because ultimately it's going to create the transformation you want. That's the key.
The experience, the indulging, surrendering to the entire essence of it.
There you
go. Put it on like a suit.
So
let it take over.
Here's the plot twist though. You cannot be trained in the art of surrender because if there were a step-by-step methodology on how to surrender, it would become very easy to fake it. Conditional surrender. You see what I'm saying?
I mean, I think and also that surrender is different for every person because the reasons for the restraint and the resistance is different for every person. What you resist for is different from what I resist for. So surrender, there's no cookie.
And that's why there can be no cookie cutter method for it because then it will be easy to fake it.
But that's when you do your shadow work and you examine your triggers.
You cannot teach someone how to love because then all they would need to do is go through the motions of love in order to appear as if they actually know it. Conditional love. That's what we're dealing with here. Niggas go through the motions of what they've been told this shit looks like, and it appears they're in love. But
a guideline book given to you by the same niggas that want to oppress you.
Exactly. Surrender and love are one and the same because both require openness and vulnerability.
Openness and vulnerability.
Feminine qualities because the womb is receptive. It is open. It can be penetrated, which means it's vulnerable. Right? There are no techniques for accessing surrender or love because they just happen. Instead, what we have to do is study and understand the techniques we have used in order to block ourselves from allowing the expression of surrender and love.
You have to examine your triggers.
The shadow work. I guess this is why on the tree of life, Saturn is at the top of the feminine pillar. And Tantra is a feminine principle. You analyze your own self-limitations. You analyze how you withhold yourself from becoming one with source. That's what Saturn ultimately makes you do. Wherever Saturn is in your chart, that's ultimately what that nigga's for. Jupiter is the one that's now giving an expanded understanding of this. Big young bear off country, bitch. Right?
Mm-hmm.
All right. So this is what I would like to call shadow work, where we examine our defense mechanisms and triggers in order to truly see how we avoid facing our most natural state of being.
When you pick apart your defense mechanism, you know exactly what it's programmed to target. Mm-hmm. So then you know what the issue is.
Mm-hmm. Then you know what to address, how to address it, and ultimately that leads to fixing it, which leads to the real integration of the shadow. And even if your demon becomes your ally.
And even if that shit seems foreign and you're like, well, why is this? You can research it. You now know where to start.
Mm-hmm.
You got the topic for your fucking paper.
There you go.
Do your research now.
Got them Googles popping. All right. Amazing for these. The first and most powerful line of defense is the human ego, the me, right? And we're going to explain the difference between the me and the I in this as well. This is also a revolution that's going on with Uranus in Aries, the I am revolution. We're going to be touching on that as well.
Uranus.
Get facts. So the first and most powerful line of defense is the human ego, the me. Mm-hmm. In its most basic state, the ego is a built-in part of the human vessel that helps you keep the body alive so that the soul, the I, can gain the full experience and transformation that it came to this realm to acquire. Mm-hmm. As humanity began to evolve, so did the human ego, which led to it assuming itself to be a real being. The ego is not real because it dies with this body. The ego is not real because it dies with this body. It's a built-in mechanism of this body to keep the body alive as a vehicle for the soul to gain an experience. That's all it's for.
It's not its own being.
We have inflated the ego because we've inflated what it takes to survive down here.
Just like we've done with technology and artificial intelligence. Technology can be a tool, but then if you let it get out of control and it starts to think it's its own being, that fucking robot bitch Sophie wants to have a baby.
And it constantly joking about destroying all humanity and enslaving humanity. It's just not funny. It's just not funny to me. There's only so many times you can joke about something before I'm just like, all right, nigga,
and nigga, that's once.
Get to the point. You see what I'm saying? Get to the point.
Yeah, it's that same concept.
Same concept though.
It's not its own thing. It's a tool.
It's a tool. All right. So this is where we get to explaining the difference between the I and the me, right? The I is the intangible one. So I want you guys to think of I and me as kind of like anagrams, you see what I'm saying, of meaning for something deeper. So the I is the intangible one, which we commonly call the soul. The me is the manifested entity that the I creates in order to have an experience. Over time, the I began to associate itself more and more with its manifested entities and their manifestations, thus losing its connection to its true state of being and inflating the ego. This is our common society today. This is what we're dealing with right now. Right? Mm-hmm. And this is where we are drawing to a close with this. We're going to wrap this up because this is actually the last section of these notes. So this is actually
techniques.
We can go into techniques now.
Practical application.
Facts.
Because that's what the fuck they bought this video for.
Exactly. In all honesty.
They want to know what the fuck is good.
All right. Our entire modern society is now ego-based. The human ego has been allowed to dictate what is and what isn't, and then create a reality around those false notions of self. And because the ego's main function is the preservation of life, it cannot move beyond the veil of death. So the tree of life is the ego. You can eat from that, you can feed that, but ultimately you want to feed the tree of knowledge, the tree of true knowing. Anything that would destroy the reality that the human ego has created for itself to live in is considered a death threat. Love is a force that transcends both life and death. Death itself is the ultimate form of surrender. Thus, it is the human ego that will fight tooth and nail to block us from experiencing either of those energies because it knows that it will have to die, quote unquote, and be transformed once they enter into its reality. And there we go. That's really the in-depth definition of what Tantra is all about, what Tantra really is, and why the common understanding of Tantra that we have exists. Why it is we associate it more with the sexual energy, because of these things that we just built up upon. You see what I'm saying? So rewind the video. I'm not about to go all over all of that. All right. So now techniques. And I do believe this is where you take over because I know you've been looking up some techniquey things.
So I practice Tantra.
Right.
Tantra isn't necessarily just something that you have to do with someone else. But sexual Tantra.
More predominantly, I will say that a lot of the Tantra is self-work. Like it's you working with your energy by yourself. You should understand.
Yeah, because ultimately when you do engage with another person, you both know exactly what you're doing, what you came to do. So is one person exuding out the energy and the other person taking that energy and creating or whatever y'all got set to manifest? You have to know your place, know what you're doing. So you want to deal more with yourself, even if it's just on the basic level of just knowing your body, so that when you do have sex, you know how to get to those points together. But that again comes with knowing yourself. So the main thing when you're masturbating, because that's what you're doing, you're playing with yourself. But even before you get to that, you want to get that space. You want to meditate. I shower. I do like a spiritual shower. I go in there with the intent to physically wash off any blockages, and that's when I kind of plan out, well, what is it that I want to work on? What is it that I want to manifest? And your goals in Tantra aren't necessarily physical things. You don't go have magical sex to get money for your phone bill. You go in there to unlock and understand deeper aspects of yourself.
Honestly, you should go in there trying to unlock the energy of abundance within you, so that way you can just.
If you want to go, if you're going for that, if you want abundance, don't go into Tantra saying I need money for this bill. I need money. Go into it saying I am abundance. What do I need to see? What do I need to understand? What do I need to feel? Senses need to know so that I can become
that
abundance.
Energy, right? In motion.
And what you're gonna do is you're gonna, if it's abundance that we're talking about, you're gonna take colors, you're gonna take smells,
taste, food that you enjoy, like, you know what I'm saying, like
all of that is the essence of it. That is the spirit. That is the goddess. That is
right.
Her mantra. That is her essence. So you set your intention. Well, when I claim myself, I set my intention. I kind of map out what exactly I'm looking for. So I'm looking for myself to transform into abundance. So then I go, and when you lay down, you want to focus. The first step is to focus on your breathing. You want to, it's important because it's carrying oxygen up your spine through all of your chakras, because all of this is chakra work. All your chakras are actually just gateways to other dimensions. They're portals. And you're going to do a lot of work with them with Tantra. You want to open yourself up, relax yourself. You want to breathe. You want to get yourself prepared to submit to everything you're about to see when you close your eyes, everything you're going to feel. If you're working with incense and candles and oils, everything, all the memories that it may potentially trigger, you're gonna surrender to that. So you want your body to physically You don't want no itches. Oh shit, my arm itch. Damn, I just fucked up. You know, you want to really surrender to all of it. So you want to. I close my eyes. I focus on inhaling X amount of times, exhaling, just filling myself up, and then pushing out any kinks I feel. If I feel my arm is a little tense, I'll inhale, try to relax that part of my body a little bit more, and then eventually I start to dissolve. My body just starts to just relax. You realize how infinite like that energy is.
And that's actually one of the first techniques they bring up in Big Young Bear Tantra is the breathing technique. How with just the breath alone you can tap into the forces beyond duality. Like because if you think about it, breathing is a duality itself. There's an inhale and an exhale. In between both of them is a space where you're not doing either. You're not inhaling or exhaling. You're just in perfect stillness. That stillness is where God exists.
And that stillness is what you want to focus on later before you orgasm. Because that's how you're going to create that, almost like a ball of energy that you're about to shoot and make some shit with. I'm just speaking for females. I don't think there's any men watching. I don't know what the guys be doing.
For the guys, it's different because ultimately a lot of what our tantric work is about the control of the release of the seminal fluid. So what you really want to do for male tantric practices, of course, all the visualizations and shit are important, but in terms of the physical play of that, you see what I'm saying? What the males are going to want to do is learn to ejaculate. You know,
well, even before we get to that, what's the preparation? Because we're not even into the touching.
It's the same preparation. Like, all right, honestly, it's you setting it up for yourself. Like,
to just chill.
What you see what I'm saying? Like, it's a meditative practice. So, are you going to play frequencies? Are you going to light incense? Are you going to set an intention first? It's all about how you start your meditations, how you start your rituals. It's no different than that. You see what I'm saying?
What I do.
Exactly. So you can let your intuition, you can let your intuition guide you as
you know your body.
You know what's good for you, and you know what's good to get the energies going. If you want to, you know what I'm saying, get a certain crystal or whatever the fuck. It doesn't have to be OD elaborate. It can be OD simple. You can make it OD elaborate every time if you want to really draw all that energy in every time you do it. Cool, do that. Either which way, it's just about, you know what I'm saying, setting your intention. Mainly it's having an intention.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? Mainly that's what it is.
Know what you're working this energy for.
Right.
Because when you start to visualize after you get your breathing and you're excited and you are ready to touch yourself, you want to start focusing that energy on what you visualize. Visualize anything that you think of when you think of abundance, whether it's gold coins, whether it's the color gold, whether it's the color orange. Some people it's the color orange. Ideas to get money, ritual ideas to unlock certain aspects of yourself, because abundance isn't just limited to physical things. Abundance in knowledge of self, abundance in
it's an archetypal energy.
Yeah, so just like the abundance, if you want to indulge in the energy of Tahuti, you can set that intention, just abundance
in general. Right?
Yeah, so whatever images come to you, whatever smells resonate with that to you, you want your senses that. When you're working with that energy.
Because those are direct portals to the source. All of those senses relate to chakras, and they're all direct portals to the source.
Exactly.
You see what I'm saying?
And when the closer you are to coming for females, with me personally, I'll hold in one orgasm to kind of really just build up that energy. Like you know when you come, you feel it, that pressure, that build up, just to basically double it. Energy that's going into this shit that I'm visualizing, it's like a fucking bomb. Like, it's gonna hit this shit.
All right, it's the same thing for the males when they ejaculate, but learned from the tantric things that I've studied during my time, practicing. It's more beneficial for the women to come. Like when a woman reaches an orgasm, it's whereas women orgasm or women find it easier to orgasm than men do. Men tend to ejaculate, and that's the issue. You're throwing all those vital fluids and vital energies out of the body. You're throwing it out of the body. You pretty much eat it. You see, learn to sight energies back up. Kundalini. You see what I'm saying? that's what ultimately does that for the men, though, because our energy is naturally supposed to flow from the root chakra up, whereas women are
we bring it down.
They bring it down.
We are the birth canal.
Right.
I like to channel it up and then bring it back down. But when you're bringing it down and you're pushing it out, you're taking everything that you just built up or that y'all just built up,
giving birth to it.
And you are physically giving birth to it. You are pushing.
That's
it
why
out.
it's more beneficial for the women
That's
to
why it's
come and have an orgasm, because in the ejaculation, because you're ultimately giving birth to the thing.
That's exactly.
Whereas for us, you know what I'm saying, we rise up the seed. You see what I'm saying? It's better that we, because that's our natural energy flow.
You send the lightning rod up.
Exactly.
You are the energy, the force that gets it done. So I like to focus on that energy, and it's like when you synchronizing how you play with yourself with your breathing helps a lot. It helps you feel exactly where you are, so you don't overindulge, you don't lose your peak, you stay 100% unified with all that you're experiencing. If you have your eyes closed, all that you're seeing. But as you're tempted to speed up because you're about to focus that energy, feel it. I like to send it up through my chakras because I wanted to not only purge any blockages that I may be carrying on, because you don't want to birth blockages. You can birth blockages. I like to send it up to really not only take aspects of each chakra to make it more holistic, because whatever I birth, I want everything to benefit from it. So it's like I'm purging out shit, and then I'm also taking in like nutrients, bringing it back down, and then giving birth to it. Mm-hmm. There's a visual.
And then boom, as you're giving birth to it, I'm the one that's supposed to now take that energy in and cycle it up. You see what I'm saying? So it is a natural flow.
I was gonna say that's a visual for more like two people.
Right.
Is you imagine whatever it is. I like golden spirals because it's something that I can feel, and it's something that he can feel. So it comes out of him, up through me, up through all of your chakras, out of your head, down into his head. You're planting what it is that y'all are working on into each other, because now he's taking energy, he's going back down, which ultimately is coming back up.
There are subtle differences in how the sexual techniques are used in regards to men and women, but it's more so just based on the fact of how the energy flows naturally through those different systems. You see what I'm saying? Lightning ultimately follows the path of least resistance. Right? So if you just let it flow out, it's just gonna flow out. But understand that you're losing electrical potential. You could build up that electrical charge in your body, which ultimately makes you a stronger magnet, a stronger attractor. You see what I'm saying? The obelisk, which is the penis of Asar that we see in Egypt, is a receiver and transmitter of celestial forces. If you don't have a strong enough magnetic shell, how can you receive and transmit? You see what I'm saying? Because receiving is the magnetic part, transmitting is the electric part, sending it back out. You see what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Projecting it forth. But ultimately, you want to be able to receive enough to actually be able to transmit clear thoughts and channels up and down.
Being like a transformer, like how for like electricity and shit.
And that's the best way to think about this shit is in terms of electrical engineering. You see what I'm saying? Using these electromagnetic terminologies and, you know what I'm saying, computer coding type technological ways of like describing is really the best way to understand it, because it really helps. So lightning follows the path of least resistance. So if when you're about to ejaculate, you see what I'm saying, you kind of just tighten up those muscles and you kind of put your intention and thought toward drawing that energy up, because mind you, where attention flows. So if you put your mind and your visualization, right, toward drawing that energy back up into your pineal gland, drawing it back up the spine, and you just hold that shit for as long as you possibly can. You see what I'm saying? Like while you're obviously, you're going through the climax, you just hold that shit in as long as you can. Lightning chooses the path of least resistance. If you're blocking this way, you can reverse the flow and go back up. That electrical shock wakes up Kundalini. You see what I'm saying? That's what jolts her into rising up into the spine with lightning quickness. Mm-hmm. The snake that was coiled now shoots for it to bite. You see what I'm saying? That bite ultimately helps the seed that is the seed of the soul that is in the mouth of Kundalini, right? Interact with the throne of God or the seat of the soul. You see what I'm saying? It's now starting to create that attract. Now you're starting to pull things down. So that's why you want to handle it on that regard from the male perspective. From the female perspective, definitely come as much as you want, but definitely
give birth, but no
visualizations. Mind you,
power.
as a male, since you're sending that energy up and back into the cosmos, you should also be doing visualizations in the moment of orgasm. You see what I'm saying? That shit's hard. That shit's hard to put your focus somewhere else while your body is going through the most intense feeling. You see what I'm saying?
Normal sex, like before tantric sex, you want to focus on getting your nut, or else you're going to lose it.
Lose it, right?
This is the complete opposite.
This is the complete opposite of that shit. For sure. For sure. So,
what type of meditations do you do by yourself?
I
have a shower meditation for when I do like yoni magic. Whenever I don't want to do yoni steams, but I still want like that water energy. Whenever I'm about to whenever I'm about to dive into like my primordial waters and try to pull out and recollect some information, I'll do more stuff with water. So either I'll soak in a bath, or I'll sit in the shower and meditate. And if you want to do solo tantra in the shower, one of the best things you could do is play like the sounds of Neptune while you're in the shower. And just lay in the shower, open your legs, and let that water hit your puss. Like, have sex with Neptune in the shower. And you are really going to unlock some deep.
That's definitely a part of the tantric magic too, is actually using these visualizations to directly interface your energy with the energy of these gods.
Yeah, directly do that shit. And mainly for like the solo shit, have sex with these gods.
Have sex with these gods. Integrate their energy directly into you, and now you can just
birth it as a woman,
as an aspect of yourself.
That's why we're able to be so psychic, so clairvoyant. That's why we're able to see.
Because you're able to receive all those energies.
Because we birthed it, like we birthed that shit. So yeah, when I'm in the shower, even if it's not like a full on tantric like play with myself, just basking in that essence, the sound, the water, how it feels, the visualizations, just let it. You start to feel Neptune. You start to have sex, but then you also start to recollect shit. You start to have realizations and epiphanies about some shit that's deep in the waters.
Facts.
What else?
One of the meditations that I do, I'll give one section on that second. During that moment of orgasm, you're actually about to you know what I'm saying, do the process of ejaculation. The one thing that I really like to visualize is like lightning bolts. Like I really like to actually visualize myself like getting struck by lightning as I'm like kind of like going through like the spasm of it, like going through the feeling of it, trying to hold it back. I like to visualize those lightning bolts, or maybe like that snake rising up and shit. Like
the snake shit's one of my favorites.
I like
visualizing the fucking serpent.
I actually like visualizing the shit the way the ancestors describe it. You see what I'm saying? Like see it that way, like, and see what it kind of over time is gonna start morphing and presenting itself to you in different ways. You see what I'm saying? But like really try to see it the way they saw it and see how your personal snake looks. You see what I'm saying? That type of thing. You know, that's another level of it. So that, and then a non-sexual, I guess you could say it's related, because this is the one I usually do. After I ejaculate and I rise that energy up the spine, what I like to do, I just immediately like to go to sleep.
You go straight to the astral.
I go straight into the astral. I waste no time with that. But what I specifically do is I cross my arms over my chest, like I'm mummified, like I'm dead, going into the underworld like a Sar. You see what I'm saying? Boom. I'm going into the judgment scene to go deal with my shit. You see what I'm saying? I'm going through the underworld to deal. That's one of the grand. Mind you, I've gained so much from that. I've gained so much from that. So I think that's one of the major ones that I like. After you're done having sex and having fun, yo, go the fuck to sleep. Go to the astral realms and really let these energies soak in, sink in without your ego getting in the way of it. You see what I'm saying? You see what I'm saying? So, like, don't offer your ego that chance to play or hate. Like, really just do what you got to do. Send those energies up. Get those intentions flowing. Get that shit popping, and then go to sleep. Go get out of the way. Like, go disappear. Go somewhere else. You see what I'm saying? Like, let that shit sink into the quantum realm. Let it turn directly into waves. You see what I'm saying? That's definitely one of the best ways to go about that. But in specific, the crossing of the arms over the heart.
That's symbology.
I'm literally like, here's the thing. Niggas look at what the ancestors said and they never directly.
My arms over my stomach.
Boom, and you can
I
do
didn't
that
realize
as well.
that. I put my arms over my stomach.
You put that shit
but that's
over.
A natural,
you put that shit over your belly button. You can connect to your entire lineage. That's where your umbilical cord used to be. That's where your mother's are.
That's mainly what I've been focusing on when I go into some tantric shit.
That same technique can be done. You see what I'm saying? So.
Oh, another random thing about having sex with deities. Women can have sex with women deities.
Yes.
And that probably sounds crazy, but I've had multiple sexual encounters with Bastet.
Oh, that's also leading me into bringing up the fact that what we call male deities on this thing, they also have feminine forms. They have feminine incarnations.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? The god of fire, Agni, is known as having a womb. Mm-hmm. So there is, you know what I'm saying, a masculine and a feminine form to all of these energies. You see what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. They may choose to present themselves in one form more than the other. You see what I'm saying? But they can present to you however they want to present to you. You see what I'm saying?
They usually present to you in ways that you can easily identify. So,
especially if you know the symbology behind different deities and how they.
Oh yeah, that's when it gets fun.
That's when it gets fun when you
the
know.
More you know, and you start seeing like subtle.
Yeah,
shit.
You kind of start seeing like who's actually like trying to hook up with you, who's like trying to link with you on that level. Like, all right, oh shit, is that Artemis? Artemis trying to get this dick?
No, Artemis. Artemis. Artemis said, "Let me go see what's up with the niggas."
You see what I'm saying? Like when you actually know the symbols of these guys, you can actually see how they, come through and they present themselves to work with you through this tantric process. You see what I'm saying? Because ultimately, all that blood sacrifice shit that niggas do, with killing people and all that crazy shit, incorrect. That is not good enough. You see what I'm saying? The sexual fluids, the menstrual fluids, are actually said to be pretty much 100 times more powerful than blood rituals. One drop of blood. One drop of.
No, I'm saying you can still do blood magic, but
menstrual blood. Yeah, one drop. Creative blood.
That shit sets fire.
That's still a part of the sexual fluid. You see what I'm saying? That's still a part of the sexual fluid. So one drop of sexual fluid is worth 1,000 drops of blood. So,
I honestly consider like blood sacrifices. Anytime somebody's self-sabotaging, anytime somebody puts themselves in my way, knowing I'm about to cut their shit up or knowing that they're liable to get their shit cut up, I consider that a blood sacrifice because you knew you was gonna get your head cut off when you stepped to me.
That's true, indeed.
So you just cut your own head off. So thank you for satisfying my blood thirst.
You see, boom, and that's another level of it, really revolutionizing of how the gods are depicted. But you can only really do that when you directly connect yourself to them. You
directly engage with them.
You have to directly engage with them. You can only they can only speak to you and really tell you, because they're the ones that'll tell you where humanity went to talking all the bullshit. They're the ones that can tell you that directly and put you on game on what's really real out here and what's really not. You see what I'm saying? I think the reason why a lot of niggas are keyed into a bunch of dumb shit because they're not doing the real work that's going to lead them to actually hearing what's really going down.
Fixing the actual problem and not the symptoms.
We're not trying to deal with the symptoms. We're trying to deal with the actual disease and get a cure for that shit. So that way the symptoms can go the fuck away for real. I'm not trying to just suppress them so they can come back later.
You're trying to actually be healed. Come back later. You be back in this bitch.
You're doing this shit all over again.
Life 300.
So like we said, the visualizations are very important. Intention is very important. most of what your work is the intention setting.
And when you visualize,
your energy goes where your attention flows. Once you set that intent, your energy is automatically gonna go there. You don't need, y'all remember those fucking toaster oven commercials? You set it and forget it.
Oh my God.
Set that intention and then move on. Do what you gotta do. It's already set. You see what I'm saying? Do what you gotta do. Have fun. Enjoy the energy. Enjoy all the feelings. Really feel it with your total awareness, your whole heart. You see what I'm saying? But know that the intention is getting watered by your energy. You see what I'm saying? So the visualizations are important. What you visualize, your imagination is important. Be imaginative. What you're able to visualize.
Again, you're working multidimensionally when you're doing Tantra.
So the only limitations are the ones you place upon yourself. Once again, Saturn and Capricorn webinar coming for that ass soon, because that karmic audit is going to be real. So we said we wanted to keep this under 2 hours.
I don't know how long it is. Okay, well, go to the chat and see if anyone has some questions. Q&A.
Q&A time, I guess.
You don't ever want to be doing. You don't ever want to do Q&A.
Hell no, boy. The explanation should be clear enough the first time. If you ain't understand, you wasn't listening.
They still may have questions.
No, I know. I'm gonna be nice. Q&A time, I guess.
You don't ever want to be doing. You don't ever want to do.
Hell no, boy. Hell no. All right, so if there's any questions you guys have, you can ask them now. If not, you know what I'm saying.
How long has it been?
It's been about
2 hours.
Yeah, close to 2 hours maybe. That may be an hour 45. So if not, I mean, that's cool too. I just want to make sure that we kind of addressed everything. I think we really did address everything. Like we said,
also a delay.
Yeah, I know. We're going to be addressing more aspects of this. There's going to be more installments, more free installments, more paid installments of this, because this is a very vast topic to build on. Like we said, we're also building on the Saturn and Capricorn transit. We're going to be building on the Uranus in Aries transit as the I am revolution. Saturn and Capricorn is the karmic audit. And the Jupiter and Scorpio is the, what do we call this? Was it the
Tantric revolution?
Yeah, it's the Tantric revolution and the hold on. I know, I put it in my thing. I know exactly what I call it. All right. So, yeah, that's what it was. So along with the Tantric revolution that's going on, what's really going on overall in Jupiter and Scorpio is the quantum remodeling of the underworld. So this is the quantum remodeling. Jupiter and Scorpio is the quantum remodeling. Saturn and Capricorn is the karmic audit, and Uranus and Aries is the I am revolution. You see what I'm saying? So all three of these things are all working together on that regard. Mind you, these are all the bigger planets with the longer transits. Neptune is in Pisces pretty much. Neptune is in Pisces pretty much. That's the removal of the veil.
Get that Tantric Neptune shit popping, trust me.
Yeah, get that shit going. Once I'm probably gonna do a Neptune in Pisces type transit forecast, because that's actually going to be a while, because it's actually in the middle of that thing right now. So I think I might do that as well, kind of offer more insights on that. Yeah, this is about to be a very lit time, so I'm glad we got to do this for you guys. 1 time for my niggas, 2 times for my nagas. Of course, if you guys have any questions after this, you guys are more than welcome to link us on our different discussion boards and message boards on our website, cosmicchaos.com. Also check us out for all of our services and products, our articles, daily updates. You know what I'm saying? We're dropping PDFs, free PDFs, paid out of print text. We got all that shit. Definitely come through and check us out. You know what I'm saying? As we always say, we really appreciate you guys coming through and letting us share the knowledge that we gain with you.
So you guys have a good night, and we are outie 3000. Oh yeah. And scene.